The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this second webinar conducted by Digital Systems KTN during this autumn 2010. Today we are going to talk about inhibitors of cloud adoption in the enterprise and public sector. We have Philipp Huber, co-founder of Symetriq, who will be sharing his experience with the cloud and its implementation. Philipp is the co-founder of Symetriq, and he was the former CTO of Excalibur Communications, and he was the driving force behind the first European cloud flexi-scale. He had his formative years as a senior consultant and architect in HP's Swiss IT professional service organization, focusing on very large-scale email backbones and complex systems and network management projects. After co-founding a very successful and independent consultancy in Switzerland, he moved over to the UK and joined Motorola in an EMEA IT role, overseeing operations of multi-million-dollar projects. He has seen the cloud from both ends, both as a provider of cloud-based services and also as a consumer of cloud-based services. He has seen the cloud successfully delivering what it promises and also otherwise. So he is in a good position to tell us what challenges one can expect in adopting a cloud computing infrastructure within enterprises and public sector. We are delivering this webinar using the GoToMeeting platform. You can click the raise hand button to seek attention or ask question. All of you are muted. Whenever you have any questions, you can type them in using the tab called questions. We will take all questions at the end of the presentations. I will selectively mute and unmute the person asking the question, and you can then interact with the presenter. Without further ado, I hand over to Philipp.
Thanks very much, Mahesh, and thanks for everybody for joining, because I'm fully aware that we all have busy schedules, and it's nice that you find maybe half an hour this busy day to look into some of the issues that I came across. Let me just forward the slides. I don't want to talk too much about me, because it's really about some of the inhibitors, as the topic of the webinar says. Now, it's maybe worthwhile to mention that I'm going to use some very practical and specific experiences I made over the last couple of months, as Mahesh said, as a customer of cloud or public cloud virtualized services, and as a vendor as well, where we sell services as a public cloud. In terms of consultancy, I've been working recently with Swiss Post over the last couple of months in a major infrastructure redesign program. Within Symetriq, we have clients that list from a very large football club that plays at the European level and has a massive fan community, and therefore a hugely kind of successful and busy website, to public sector organizations, again, that have very different requirements. When I was looking at the topic, when I discussed that with Mahesh, I came up to about 8 different areas where I see typically there are issues or inhibitors where cloud is used in a corporate or in a public sector environment. The first one is the confusion. Then there's the human factor in there. People have issues about control over what they consume. The typical, probably the most prevalent one, is security concerns. Then there is something linked to that, compliance. There are technical challenges too, and increasingly we see software licensing issues. And when you look at especially corporate environments, the corporate finance structures, they can be an inhibitor to successful cloud adoption. Let me see. This is moving forward. Now, I just chose a couple of pictures. Photography is my hobby, and it really should illustrate that what I want to say here, a cloud is not a cloud. There is a lot of cloud wash going on at the moment, and people are really, really confused in terms of what is a cloud. And even when I'm having a bit of trouble here with forwarding. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people claim what cloud is and what not. You have so-called experts and true experts debating about it for days and days. That's not really what we want to solve here, because we will be here for the rest of the day or for the whole week. Actually, William Fellows of 451 group, of one of the analysts group that is very active in the cloud community, uses a very typical expression. He calls it cloud washing. And I think that's pretty much to the point. But what we want to look at here is really one of the key questions: why would I use the cloud? What are the use cases of the cloud? And that is a much better approach than trying to figure out what it is and what it is not. So I'm trying to jump here to the right slide. Now, you have to spend a bit of time to see through the marketing of cloud, because as we sometimes say, it can be a bit cloudy. You need to know what you want from the cloud. What business problems do you want to solve? So for example, I've listed here a couple of use cases why you would want to use it. Is it pay-as-you-go that you find interesting? Is it the elasticity? Some people just don't want to make long-term commitments anymore, because if you get dedicated hardware from a provider, you have to commit for a certain period, maybe 12 months. Especially in the public sector, there is a drive to eliminate CapEx, and other organizations are looking at CO2 reduction. So depending on these drivers, then you have to make a decision, and that's a difficult one sometimes, whether you want to go for a public cloud or a private cloud or a hybrid in between. But you need to spend a bit of time and figure out what is it you actually want. Let me see, is this line of forwarding? Mahisha, can you maybe help me? For some reason it's not forwarding again. Okay. The second issue is the human challenge. And we should never forget humans, because in organizations, even though we deal with technology, ultimately we deal with people. And very often people, if they're not that well informed about the cloud, they see the cloud as a job killer. And to some degree it's probably true, because the cloud will eliminate some of the jobs, especially some of the lower end of the IT stack, people that do cabling and data center work and maybe operating system images, installing and so on. Many of these jobs will disappear. What I've seen as well recently, especially for example in the Swiss postal mail service, was this attitude: this won't work here. And if you were digging a bit deeper, why is it not working here? Why can you not virtualize, or why can you not use the cloud? You will get quite fussy and blurred explanations that were not really technical, they were more emotional. And the other thing is, IT people, I just believe in their heart, they like what we call shiny kit. They like LEDs and data centers and that sort of material. And the idea that this all goes away is a problem for them. So how can you deal with that? I think an important one is the educational factor, that maybe the people that understand finance in an organization, whether it's public sector or private, they need to explain to them how much they can save. And it's not a question anymore whether we like it or not. It's a question how quickly can we adopt. The other thing, what I've seen in some organizations that are successful in the adoption of virtualization and cloud, is if it comes from the very top and if they have very strong policies that it has to be done and only exceptions will be allowed. You can have awareness programs where you have internal little projects where you let people play and let them experience the cloud and maybe get excited. And ultimately, if you don't want to lose certain people that are definitely at risk, you maybe have to start working on a retraining program to retain your top talent. The third challenge is the control issue. IT people, they like control because in a way it's a bit what they've been doing for a long time, maybe 30, 40 years. They were in control of things, and now suddenly it's slipping away from them because people can take a credit card within maybe a business department or a business unit, and go to Amazon or to another cloud provider like ourselves, Symetriq, and buy resources. Now that is scary for them, and they don't like that. Another area about the control is, where is my data? Where is it physically stored? Where is the jurisdiction if something goes wrong, if the company maybe folds and goes bankrupt? Which lawyers would I have to talk to, and which courts if I would want to get access? Another area is, if I have a lot of data, let's talk about terabytes of data, how would I get it out of the cloud again if I want to change the supplier? And sometimes suppliers have to do upgrades, as we all have to do. And then the question is, how would I deal with platform upgrades if it doesn't fit into my schedule and there is disruption? Again, possible answers. Try to talk to your suppliers or potential suppliers. Try to build a relationship with them, because some of the very big suppliers, they won't answer these questions because that's part of their policy. But some of the smaller suppliers, they're quite willing to show, maybe even let you see where the data is stored physically, let you visit their data centers, and they would let you probably see some of the technology they use and how things are bolted together, which gives you a better feel and confidence that you're not completely losing control. It's important as well, when you look into the SLAs and the contracts, spend time on that. Spend time with your supplier, maybe try to negotiate SLAs and T's and C's, because even though they might give you a default set, they're not always cast in stone. Sometimes they are up for negotiation, and it's up to you to really try to push the boundaries there. But try to engage with them, talk to them. That is highly recommended. Issue 4. Security. It's probably the one we see always at the very top of the list when we see the kind of top 10 list of cloud inhibitors. Questions like, is my traffic secure? Is my data secure? In my opinion, they are in general overhyped, but they're still valid. They're overhyped in as much as whether you have virtualized environments or physical environments, some of the dangers to your data, they are pretty much exactly the same. So whether it's a virtual dedicated server or a physical dedicated server, if you have applications on top like content management systems that are not secure, your data is at risk as much as it would be in a virtualized environment. So in general, I think it is overhyped. But again, talk to your supplier, ask them tough questions, see how they answer, ask them what they do at operational process level, at technology level, to prevent security breaches, to have secure data centers. And if you get the right answers, again, that gives you confidence that you are working with a supplier that takes security very, very serious. I think there's a lot of movement in the market at the moment too, where new security solutions are coming out every week. Now, to some degree, it might be more and more confusing actually which ones are the right ones, but over time, the right leaders will be established, and we can then even help our customers from a supplier point of view, which of these solutions would help you to solve which problems. But at the moment, you probably have to do a bit your own homework and start digging around depending on your requirements. Compliance is kind of related to security, but is not exactly the same. There are organizations that are either regulated or they have self-imposed compliance requirements. If you're a bank in the UK, you're FSA regulated. In other countries, you're under the local financial services